Welcome back to another episode of Caps Cornerstore, but we about to switch it up a little bit. You know, we gonna do a little segment called Behind the Counter because every good corner store has behind the counter action, you know, thoughts, you know, questions, things of that nature. You can email them at capscornerstore@gmail.com. You could put them in the comments, and the Shadows, aka my boys Nile and Drew, they will be reading them off. So today they have their own questions to ask me, and we're here at the beautiful Long Island City, beautiful backdrop. So I figure, let the questions rip, fellas.
Yo, what up, what up? We're here.
We are.
We get to speak.
Yes, sir. They know what your voice is. They don't know what your face is.
Nah,
though.
nah. So basically, it's just a general chop up. I wanted to kind of do a recap every so often of just you being you in front of the camera.
Sure.
And
You know, it's funny you mention that because a lot of people say that when I'm conducting these interviews that I don't fully show my personality. But what people have to understand is when you're a guest on this platform, we're here to highlight the guest. You know, like, so a lot of times I might it might look like I'm falling back, but I'm just trying to get the most information, the best interaction, and give people the best setting where they're comfortable enough to come over and, you know, and really express themselves. You know what I'm saying? So if it comes off that way, my apologies, but there will be other things going on with the channel where you will be seeing more of my personal side.
Yeah, I like that answer.
I tried, bro. I tried. I didn't even write that one down. That was
That-
off the dome.
Like that answer, I was off dome because that was one thing we spoke about. That the people were telling you that he doesn't show himself. So
Well, I got a question.
Yes.
So I'm tagging on to the team kind of a few years into this since Cap's inception.
Correct.
What was the original idea and driving force for creating it in the first place?
Okay. So what some people do know, some people don't, but I was involved in a podcast called Sucker Free. And it was me and a friend of mine, a childhood friend. She was actually, funny enough, when I started coaching, she was the first player on my team that was like a stud. Like, she was like a great player. So fast forward, I was trying to, you know, try my hat at making music. And, you know, I kind of came to a fork in the road. Like, do I go full steam ahead, or am I in a place where I was able to do that? And I kind of wasn't. So, you know, like doing shows and setting up things, like that's very time consuming and it does drain a lot of resources. So at that time when I was kind of phasing out of the music, she came up with the idea of making a podcast. And she wants to name the podcast Don't Be a Bitch. Because the premise was, you watching a ball game, the guy makes an error, you're like, yo, this guy takes 1,000,000 fly balls, you know, whatever the case may be. This guy dropped the ball in the biggest moment, and you call him up. So I told her, look, if you want to do a podcast, I'll hop in, I'll help you when needed. And she basically was like, no, like I need you to hunker down and like be down, you know? And since she said that, I spoke to a friend of mine named Jamal Payne, Tulane graduate. He's from Long Island. He's the son of Les Payne. You guys could Google that man. May he rest in peace. He's a Pulitzer Prize African-American writer who wrote for the Newsday. And he basically manages all the podcasts for MLB. So no better source to go to than a person that produces all these podcasts. And his thing was not that any of them are like the greatest podcasts or anything, but, you know, with the way media is now, anybody can have an opinion and anybody can voice their opinion, you know, and that's the beautiful thing. So we ended up meeting with him. We sat down. We had two other friends that were involved in the project at first. They kind of like, you know, fell out. And we had about 20,000 episodes. We were talking about sports, life, debauchery. We used to review a beer every week, a brand new beer, and then we would rate it. We would give a situation, you know, and then we would guess what the alcohol volume was. So that was cool. And we did that. We had a good like 25,000 downloaded episodes.
Wow.
You know, and this is like no paid promotion. This was like just word of mouth pretty much. So we have the pod. The way you help your podcast grow is getting guests on the show. So to cut time in getting a background story with the guests, I figured, you know what? Why don't I do an interview series on Caps Cornerstore, which is where we're at now, and from that we can bring the guest on and just reference the audience to the YouTube page. They can see the videos, get to know who the guests are, and while you're on the show, you just basically jump right into what the show is. You know, so that's kind of how the concept started. But as it grew, the pandemic happened, and the podcast kind of got kiboshed. My partner in crime, you know, she ended up, you know, starting a family, and you know, the time, you know, it just didn't.
Life got in the way.
Life got in the way, and sometimes that happens. You know what I mean? But shout out to Mimi Millmatic, the dawn at 85, this year to be alive, because without her and that experience with potting, we would have never had, you know, this particular idea, you know, which, you know, back to the point with it being at the pandemic, you know, I'm a born and raised New Yorker, and I don't like people talking shit about my city. So to highlight people that are authentic New Yorkers, and I don't even mean that as like homegrown, anybody that's, you know, putting on for the culture of New York, why aren't those stories highlighted? So my thing was, I spoke with Drew, and I was like, yo, let's just do a series, and let's get creators of all types, musicians, photographers, restaurateurs, photographers, videographers, actors, and let's just let them speak about their story, you know, and show the authentic side of what makes this city great, you know, and that was kind of what it is. And the reason why I called it Caps Cornerstore is when you were a little kid, the corner store is always a spot where people congregate, people hang out, you know, dominoes games be happening, your bike got a flat tire, there's always an old guy out there, you know, so there was always like a spot for people to congregate. So I figured, you know what? Let's have the corner store feel anywhere and everywhere. You know, let's have those conversations you have anywhere and everywhere, right? We don't have to have them in the corner store. We can have that corner store feel wherever we sit down. So that's kind of how the idea came to fruition. Sorry, that was a long answer, but it has some details.
No,
You know,
keep
it
it coming.
had to be pretty. It had to be pretty detailed.
I love that question because it gets right into, because I was following you guys when you were doing it. That shit was crazy. She's amazing. She's like top 10. She's top 2. Fuck out of here. Like, she's so good.
It was
So
fun,
when
man.
when Nick was with her, it was fucking.
It was a great experience,
great.
man. I don't take it back for nothing.
So me, I am Nick's little cousin, family.
Yo, who's little cousin?
Caps, little
There you
little
go.
cousin, Caps cousin. So it's been going. He's taught me the ways. So to me, it was always Nick at night, cause
That's another name too.
it was Nick at night. So if you remember Nick at night, well, you know, I had to stay up late. I was a little ass kid for that. So I was like, that was my guy. But then it turned into that, and I've been shooting, and it came hand in hand. Families first.
well,
Family's
that's
gotta be that. Like,
see, Drew
so
protected.
that was the biggest thing I could take out of that. I
Well,
could have been doing this, but I was like, oh no, this had to be this. He's been podcasting. He's been the
I've
life
been really
of the
doing
party.
this shit my
He's
whole life,
been the
bro. You know what I'm
life of
saying?
the-
Like, I've been
of
really
the
doing this my
scene.
whole life.
Life of the party, life of the scene. So that's the question. That was that. So now it turned into. So now, how do you think of the guests and stuff like that? Do they come to you? Are you looking for some or?
Luckily, since we're all in the creative space, we have people to pull from. And I think when you start creating that energy with those folks, just like this plane flying by while we're recording, I think that energy is something that draws people in. So when you can see somebody provide a safe space for them to, talk about their projects, like things that they're working on, things that they, went through in life, and how that can, help somebody else, which I think that's a lost art form. And I think that's something that we need to really get back into, because there are stories behind everything, right? And there's always going to be the adversity of things. So I think luckily we have a good base of resources of people that are in the creative field. So I think it's easy to pull people on here. But I also think that energy it'll catch on, and we'll be getting other people that maybe we don't know so well, to come on and just be real, you know what I'm saying? Like, and just kick it and tell their story and get into their project. And like I said, I really feel it's like creating the safe space for people to come through and say what they want to say, But what a lot of people don't know about Drew was a very big component, because I used to record music, and I had I recorded a single called Five Borough Fever, and shortly after I recorded that record, my dad passed away. So 2 years later, Drew was in my living room, and he was like, "Yo," we were listening to the record, and he was like, "Yo, we should do we never did a music video for that." And I was like, I don't. He was like, "Nah, let's just shoot it, man. We'll shoot it like the YouTube video." I was like, "Word," as he does, right? And I will say, like, that creating that video kind of like got me back on my pen and writing. And I don't think that road leads to podcasting if we don't have that day. So, you got to give yourself some credit there too, kiddo.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that the answer is really, we're lucky enough to have enough people that we know that are creative and in multiple fields, and to be able to create that space for people, create a good experience for them. Word of mouth carries everywhere. They got something going on, they got a clothing line going on, they got a pop-up coming out. That's something that I think we're going to grow as a channel and do.
Because I like that answer, because I always get, oh, what is the podcast? Is it hip hop? Is it like?
Oh,
like,
that's a good question. Well,
that's why I was like, can I be a guest because I'm this, because I'm that? It's like everybody's involved. Everybody's invited.
Oh, absolutely. This is again.
It's a block party.
It's a block party. I mean, yeah, like, you go to get a bacon, egg, and cheese. How many people pull up in there?
All of the people.
You know what I mean? Like, all different, all different races, economical backgrounds, and that's what it is. And I think, like, that's why I know gentrification is a big thing, but I think, like, that's what makes New York, New York, is the authenticity of the people that live here. Even people that transplanted somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, that authentic, I think it brings it out of you. I don't think I've seen that anywhere else. Like, and not to knock any other town, but I feel like once you get assimilated here, you have no other choice but to be yourself. Because if you don't, you're not gonna flourish here. You know what I mean? Like, that's.
So I believe it was 4 or 5 years ago when we put out the episodes.
Well, we're actually 3 years old.
3?
I think we celebrated our 3rd birthday last May.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was the first episode?
The first episode was with Wally White. And he was educator, bipolar. And he's also an advocate for a gentleman by the name of Keith Lamar, who's actually going to be, unfortunately, is on death row for a crime that he didn't commit. Yeah, that was a great talk, because that touched on a lot of the things. It kind of, like, that interview, like, kind of embodied, like, what the channel is, because he's not just an educator. Like, he played basketball, and those kind of things kind of, like, always bring people together. And yeah, like, that interview kind of, like, embodied, like, what every episode or every guest that we would want on our platform to be and do. Not that everybody has to, but, like, just having those elements of, him playing basketball at a collegiate level, coming from the same social economic background as me, kind of has the same story, because his parents were in two different spots, so he was part-time in Brooklyn, part-time in Lower Manhattan. And to be able to give that experience to his kids that he coaches, teaching them a sport like basketball, that, you know, that's a connecting thing too, you know? So I think like I would say that kind of embodied it. And then the ball got rolling, and then, you know, life happens, you know, like,
Yeah, we did take a break after a couple episodes.
yeah. So that,
Now we're here. Now we're one episode in. Catch that episode with New York Fuckery. PJ.
yes, PJ O'Rourke, shout out my guy.
But so what was the break about? And now we're back and
Okay,
say
so
that's it.
the break, I think a lot of little things happening at one time. So I know Drew's work schedule compiled a little bit. At the same time, my grandmother passed away at 88 years old, and my grandfather, who is now 92, you know, kind of needed his family at the time. So, you know, I'm more of the person of like, if I gotta be there for my family, like I'll be there for my family, because creating, you could always create, but sometimes, you know, a distraction like that is not, it's not gonna give you the best product out there, and I'm not gonna be my best self doing so. So I took it upon myself to say, you know what, let me just take a break. And, you know, it's funny how like everything happens, I believe, at the time it's supposed to happen, because now we have, you know, we have new people on the team with great ideas, which is awesome. Easy work environment, you know, when it comes to this. And yeah, but I would say like the loss of my grandmother was probably the biggest thing, because I feel like it wasn't just my grandfather that needed me. There were other members of my family that needed me to be around, you know? So we took the time, we took the pause, and once again, Drew with the phone call said, yo, what's up? Are we gonna record? And I was like, yeah, but you know, if we record, we gotta have, he said, nah, we got a team, and you know, let's get this thing happening. And hey, PJ O'Rourke's our first episode. We just did a what turned into a regular shoot. Looks like it could be more like a documentary release with the I Played for Ray game. That's in memory of probably the biggest influence in my life as far as like being a human being and creating, because there's none of that without Ray Pagan, you know, from Carmine Rec Center. And you know, I just think everything happens for a reason, and we were able to document that event, you know, at a time where they're trying to, you know, destroy the rec center, which is not an easy thing to stomach. So coming together for him and coming together for that, you know, has been a good thing. So
Now that we're back, what are you hoping for your return? Do you have any maybe celebrity guests you want to get, some community leaders that you want to get, some celebrity community leaders you want to get?
listen, getting a big fish is always a good thing. I would love to expand the platform to community leaders, organizing, you know, people that are into the grassroots, especially in a time that we're facing as a world. Fuck the country, as a world. Yeah, getting somebody like that, because again, I think everybody, like even if you look at all the interviews, everybody has a start, middle of where they are and who they're becoming. So to be able to make that comparison with somebody that's trying to ascend in the field, with somebody that is accomplished in the field, to be able to draw those similarities and, you know, maybe connect the dots with somebody that's trying to elevate themselves, you know, like that would be cool. I mean, if I could interview anybody, man, there's quite a few. There's quite a few folks. Denzel Washington would be one. Bernie Sanders would be one. For sure. I mean, Zohan. Shout out to Zohan. I would love to get him on here, because again, like I think the authenticity in those folks is, you know, an amazing thing. Like, you know, and any I mean, there's a bunch of hip hop guys I would love to get up on here, you know. A bunch, a bunch. There's so many I can't. Don't even, like Q-Tip would be a guy. Just the guys that are like super duper creative and that continue to. Alchemist would be another guy. Yeah, but I'm like I said, like it's open to anybody, any type of creator in that field, and anybody who's about pushing everything 1% for the better than you had it before. I think that would be cool. You know what I'm saying? That would be cool.
Oh, one more thing.
All right, go ahead.
Any and everybody just fun.
Can anybody and anybody podcast? No. No. No.
Tell us what. Is it hard?
I'm-
Is it what?
I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you first, and then I'll explain. What are the top podcasts that are out there? They should just gonna roll right through. No big deal. Could have rolled around, whatever. What would you say is like the biggest podcast? Like Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
Joe Budden, $1 million worth of game.
Candace
Right.
Owens.
No, right? Candace Owens, she's one of the top, right?
Like crazy.
But what is the one factor? Joe and Jada are starting to get there.
Oh my God. Yo, that's my favorite one.
Drink Champs is another one too, right? What makes them dope?
Raven Simone has a pretty good one too. I don't know. She does it with her wife.
Oh, really? Okay. So, but what makes them? What's the key ingredient, bro? The conversations, bro. Like that's what it is. So, like, if you not a conversational person, podcasting is not for you.
And the guests got to be conversational as well.
The guest got to be conversational, and you as the person that's like in charge of the platform, like you got to be able to get the questions out of people, right? Like I give you an example. People like Larry King, Jon Stewart, Angie Martinez, they got a way of making you feel comfortable enough that you just start talking. And the questions don't feel like questions. It feels like you're in the living room with them. You know what I'm saying? So like if you're not a conversational person, that's one. That's the first strike. The second strike is podcasting is not you get your friend, you get a microphone, and then you just talk that's not what it is, bro. It's not gonna last. You gotta have good opinions. If you're speaking an opinion, you gotta make sure it's opinionated. It's not factual. If you're speaking factual, make sure you have your ducks in a row, because the last thing you want is somebody going into the comments and telling you, oh, well, Will Chamberlain didn't average 300 rebounds in a year, and you said he rebounded. He had 300 rebounds in a year. Like you can't. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much work that goes into it before you ever pick the microphone up. You didn't know? Like basic example. Like how many times have you seen people have somebody on the guest and they didn't do their homework with the guest? Like they don't know about their what they like to do in their spare time. They don't know how the story came. They don't even know how to follow up questions, because a lot of times when you know that an interviewer is not good, he just jumps to the next thing. He doesn't like double up on the questioning. Like he doesn't allow the guests to wander off. He kind of he or she keeps them locked into the subject that they're trying to get out, and yeah, like it's just not, potting is not easy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not. And guess what? If you don't got the money to pay for somebody to edit, you're gonna have to learn how to edit. You're gonna have to learn how to use the camera. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so much that goes into it, man. And it's I know it looks easy, and this is another thing I'll say about this era. A lot of folks get focused on the finished product. They have no understanding what it takes before the finished product is there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is. So no, everybody cannot podcast. The ones that do. And I think the other thing too about podcasting, if you don't have an ability to stand out, because that market is flooded too, right? Music for a while has been like that too, right? Where everybody is so accessible for them to release it. you gotta weed those out. So if you got the good idea, you know what? Sometimes your talent might be, I know how to get the right guest for somebody to interview. You know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe I'm better at holding the camera, or maybe I'm better at moderating. You know, sometimes when you have like a panel of like 2 or 3, 4 people and everybody's trying to get their voice, sometimes you need one person to like direct it, which is kind of what I did on Sucker Free. But like sometimes you need that. You know what I'm saying? So podding is not easy, and no podding, not everybody can fucking pod. And again, you don't agree with me, argue with your mom, or go into the comments and plead your case. Because trust me, I read the emails and I have all the time in the world, bro. I have all the time. I have all the time in the world to read them. So if you don't agree, put in the comment, capscornerstore@gmail.com, or put it in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, of course, always. Oh, that little kid left? That little kid tried to be famous. He was like, yo, I could pod. I was like, no, you can't, little man. Get out of here. You don't even know how to... Check your ass up out of here. But nah, I don't think anybody could pod. So, like, get the information. Like, get your ideas in order. You know what you want to talk about before you go ahead and invest your time and your energy. And I'll tell you this. There's another thing about podding. There's so many people that start out and then they just wrap it up real quickly. You have to have the time and the dedication if you want to see it grow. It does not grow overnight. I don't care what anybody say. Like, you have to be consistent with the work. You got to be consistent with the drops. You got to be consistent. I think that's the key. So make sure if you want a pod and you want to give it a shot, make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Make sure you have your topics. Make sure you have an idea of what you want to accomplish on your pod as well. And not everybody's conversational. So if you're not conversational, you might want to think about doing something else. But if you can do those things, you can have a successful podcast. All right, man. Yo, big shout out to Nile. Big shout out to Drew in the background, aka the Shadows, because they don't come on camera. They got their own stuff, whenever they're ready to come back there. You know what I mean? But again, comment section, any questions you want Caps to address on the Behind the Counter segment, you could also send those questions to our email at capscornerstore@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Put in the comment section who you would like me to tag them in the comments to see who you would like to see up here on our platform. And on the next one, man, hope y'all enjoy. And we'll see you at the corner store, man. Peace. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hope you enjoy, and see you at the corner store. Peace.